Hey folks, this is Jake here at Canadian Cutting Edge, and today we've got a Kubey knife. This is the KU210. G10 handle scales, D2 steel. They've got an upgrade version of this with solid carbon fiber handle scales and Crucible's S35VN steel. That takes you down $90 US. This guy's $40 US, which is the perfect number for my first video of year 4 of Canadian Cutting Edge. Yes, April 1st, no joke. This is my first video of the 4th year of this channel. I've got big hopes, lots of dreams, and some desires too. We'll see how it goes. We've got a wave feature here for deployment, Western Tanto style flat grind, and a liner lock system. So if you're interested at all in this knife, and I think you probably should be, I think you might want to watch this review. Coming at you right now. For starters, this is an in-house design by Kubey Knives. A new knife for, well, they're still putting new on their website. KubeyKnife.com is where you can go buy this. I've also got some Amazon links for this. If you use the Amazon links, it helps Canadian Cutting Edge just a little bit with raising some funds to keep moving forward and buying more knives. I did buy this from Kubey Knives, KubeyKnife.com. They gave me a little bit of deal because I'm a reviewer, but I did buy it from my own shekels. We've got a sandblast finish on this blade. So it's made the same way as a bead blast, but you can still very faintly see the grind lines depending on how I move this, how I move the light across it. So you've got these grind lines coming across and just a really, really fine sandblasted finish on there. That's really, really nice. I'm not super fond of bead blast, although I don't mind it. But I do like this sandblast finish. And then we've got this full flat grind is what I'm calling it. There's a swedge up here. So where the grind goes, it goes all the way up to, there's no flat top on the spine, so it's a full flat. We've got a very shallow angle here on this Western Tanto. And then what we have is a flat coming down to the tip. So you can see it really well how it's designed when you take a look at the leading edge here. Let's see if I can get any closer and have it still focus. So there you go. Very strong tip on this knife. There's that wave feature. Some coarse jimping on there. Being coarse, what I mean is, there's big spaces between it. Certainly not rough, but it does help with the texture. And it's coming up on a little bit, so it's a good thumb rest area. On the ricasso here, it says Kubey with their logo. On the other side, it just says D2 right there. That's all the printing on this knife. I really like the design, the flare that's on these screws here. The pivot screw looks really nice. And their body screws are excellent, very well made. I would be very surprised if they're not making their screws in-house. If they're not making them in-house, they're buying high-end screws. This is really good hardware. The edges of the screw is chamfered, and then the inside is just perfectly shaped for the Torx screws. We've got 420J2 pocket clip. I think the liners are probably the same steel. Like I said, the blade is D2. Nice backspacer with some coarse jimping that rises up from there. Little lanyard hole back here. The pocket clip is right side only. Tip up. It's got some holes down along it right there. It's got a flat top there, so it's easy to guide the pants in there. And it sits fairly deep. I apologize if you can hear the vacuum cleaner upstairs. My wife is doing some vacuuming and she can't wait. She's got to get this done, and it doesn't bother me very much, so hopefully it won't bother you. So there you go. You can see how deep that is. That's less than a centimeter, just over 1/4 of an inch of knife is sticking out. Works very, very well with the pocket. Good hold, good retention, and it takes a bit to pull out the knife. Oh, I just about pulled the wave feature off. And here's how the wave feature works. As you're pulling the knife out, this catches on this part of the pocket, and it pulls the blade out like that, and it deploys very, very well. Try to do it somewhat on real speed. That was a little slower than real speed. You know, that was totally locked up. Very, very nice. There are other ways to deploy this blade too. We've got a flipper tab here, a little bit of jimping on the front of it there. So light switch method where I'm pulling straight back deploys very, very well. We've got ceramic ball bearings, that helps, and a good detent as well. Or I can push down on just a bit of an angle like that. That makes the blade come flying out. I've got the wave feature in the pants. So the wave feature here also works as if it's a thumb stud, and you just push on that. And I'm sure guys that are really talented with doing stuff underneath, they'll be able to flick it out, you know, getting their finger behind that and flicking it out from underneath. I'm just not good at all of doing that underneath kind of stuff, all that fancy opening of knives that Spyderco started everybody into. Handle scales are G10, or if you upgrade, you can get that solid carbon fiber. It's not laminate, it's solid. This guy's 40 US. The carbon fiber with S35VN is $90. So totally reasonable price increase. You know, it's a little over double the price, but you're getting, you know, a better steel and you're getting carbon fiber. It's a very well 3D milled handle. Very comfortable. It looks like it might not be comfortable just with all those odd cutouts. So we've got a nice cutout here for, you know, the thumb to slide along. It's a bit of a cutout here, like a chamfer. Another one here, just a short section. And another, you know, curved cutout right there. It's kind of unique. And then the edges, the rest of the edges are chamfered on the sides just a bit. The liners are nicely skeletonized. You can just see a little bit of this on the top liner right there. The bottom liner just has minor skeletonizing back here. Well, let's right now insert some of the either still pictures or some video of the knife when it's taken apart. I've taken out some of the screws. All the screws are T8, and we do have another little problem. It is a free spinning pivot again. I really don't like free spinning pivots. There's no need to have knives being free spinning pivots these days. It's just, you know, you can have fixed pivot pins so easily with very little, if any, extra cost. I really doubt it, because there's a lot of really low-end knives that, you know, by San Remu that cost $10 that have fixed pivot pins. You don't have to put one screwdriver in each side. So what I do is I clamp the thing down, and then I put a screwdriver in each side and undo it. That's the only safe way to do it, to save your own skin, and the best way not to strip screws. Well, that pin there is a little bit tight, but at least I could undo it. There's that side. Very little jimping, just that right there. This side's got very aggressively skeletonized. And yeah, so really, really nice. So when you close this guy up, you know, it's really, really well done. And the balance point is right there. You know, even though I took some of the hardware out, but I didn't mention that before. So balance point's great. Nice skeletonizing, very well constructed. So as you can see, it's a well-constructed knife. I really like it an awful lot. All the screws are quite good. The steel's a good choice. I like D2. You know, I live in central Alberta. I don't have to worry about it corroding very easily. It's very dry in our part of Canada. It's sort of like living in the western half of the Midwest of the United States. That's the kind of weather we get here. Sort of like Montana's straight south of us. So it's very much like their weather. So there's that. Let's get on with doing all of the dimensions and all that kind of information, all the specs and stuff. The cutting edge, the sharpness of this cutting edge, it's very typical with the other Kubey knives that I've done. 195 grams of pressure to cut. And so that's very consistent. I think the other one that I did was in the 190s as well, maybe 190. The knife itself, the weight is 136 grams, 4.8 ounces. Very good knife weight for a blade this size and handle this size. The blade length and the cutting edge length are the same. The blade length is the tip of the blade to the sharpener's choil here, and the blade length is tip of the blade to the closest spot on the handle. 8.9 centimeters, 3.5 inches. So we got a 3.5 inch blade. Very nice. The thickness of this steel is 4 millimeters. That's 0.1575. So a nice chunky piece of steel, really well ground, so it can cut quite well. The blade depth, that's this distance right here. I didn't measure it back here. I measured it right here. 2.7 centimeters, 1.06 inches. The thickness of the edge right behind the grind is 0.63 millimeters, which is 0.025 inches. So just very slightly thicker behind the grind than I prefer, but not bad at all. And quite functional. The grind angle, the show side that says Kubey on here, 23.5 degree angle here. And this side, not so good, 29.3 degrees. So Kubey, you do have to go back to your factory and you need to talk to your sharpening staff. Generally accepted around the world is a knife like this is 20 degrees per side. So this is quite a bit over, 29 degrees, over 29 degrees on one side. 23.5 degrees, not a big deal, but 29 degrees, that is too steep. The handle length is 11.94 centimeters, which is 4.7 inches. So 3.5, 4.7. The grip area right in here is 9.2 centimeters, 3.6 inches. The handle thickness, not counting the pocket clip, is 1.51 centimeters. That's 0.595 inches. So basically 0.6, 6/10 of an inch thick. Not bad at all. The handle depth is biggest right there. 2.73 centimeters, 1.07 inches. With the knife closed, the depth dimension here is 3.63 centimeters, 1.43 inches. The total length, I just cut my top here a little bit. The total length of the knife with the blade deployed, 21.1 centimeters, 8.3 inches. Most of the specs on Kubey knife website are very close to what I found with my measurements. So you can take their measurements on their websites to be fairly close to what will actually be delivered to you if you buy it. The price of this knife, like I said, is $40 US from Kubey Knife or from Amazon.com. If I can find other sources, I think I'll find this knife on other Amazon sites worldwide. I will list them all down below the video. So that's the value of it. The fit and finish on this knife, I've got it between excellent and good, so I'm calling it very good. There's no bad spots. There's no sharp spots. There's no sharp spots anywhere except for where you want them to be. Everything's well-rounded everywhere else. Nothing catches. There's no hot spots in the hand when I use this for some extended use, and it fits really well in the hand, and I can deploy it and close it with the left hand very well. Same with the right hand. It is designed right-handed. It would be nice if there was a left-hand pocket clip, but even on the $90 version, there's no pocket clip for this side. It is sort of custom made for the right side, so they'd have to make a second pocket clip if they were going to do it on both sides. And very, very few companies do that, especially on budget knives. So let's show you some pictures now of the lockup. Lockup is exactly how I like a brand new knife to be. Actually, the still photograph is going to be in this orientation, zoomed into this spot. There's no blade play side to side, up and down, no rocking that way, back and forth, or, yeah, very good. Everything lines up very well. Very good feel. I like this section dropping down right here, and then the thumb riser coming up just a little bit. Very, very comfortable for the thumb. And very good guard here. I think the pocket clip, not the pocket clip, the flipper tab is just a little bit bigger than it needs to be. I wouldn't mind if it was a bit smaller. The handle's comfortable in most grips. Here's a reverse forward grip. A reverse pull grip, maybe not quite so comfortable because this corner of the flipper tab, bites into the side of the hand a little bit. But your regular fist grip, very good. Saber grip, very good. Squeeze forward and do a pinch grip, very good. And since it broadens out right there, it's very good to put your finger on here if you need to do some delicate work on the tip. Very, very comfortable for that. Good control, a lot of dexterity there. So let's go over the pros and the cons and the unique features. Well, wave deployment, that's no longer copyrighted, or not copyrighted. The wave feature is, open for anybody to use, my understanding, just like the axis lock now. And it works very well. They chamfered the little edges of the knife on the side here everywhere. Like I said, it's only sharp where it's supposed to be. The sharpener's choil is beautiful. It's exactly as big as it needs to be. They chamfered the sides of the liner lock and the release right there, so it's really easy to get the meat of your thumb in there to push the liner lock over. That works just great. No problems with that at all. Nice jimping everywhere. Good job on that. It's a fairly deep pocket clip, especially for this kind of pocket clip. So no problems there. I like that. By the way, it comes in this color. I'm calling this burnt caramel. It's their brown. They've got a green, which I'm calling sage. I don't know. Am I feeling especially feminine today? Maybe. And they've got black G10. So you got those three choices. Or, of course, you get the black carbon fiber. So a nice strong blade, good action out of the box. I've not taken this knife apart at this point yet. I always do that. Well, not always. I almost always don't take the knife apart until after I've recorded the review, and then I just inject those pictures and stuff into the video. So I like to just have a factory condition knife the whole time I'm doing the video. So very good. Cuts quite well, keeps an edge very well, like D2 does. And I don't find D2 hard to sharpen. That's one of those things that's very popular on the internet, especially around YouTube videos for knives. D2 steel is just terribly hard to sharpen. No, it's not. If you get good stones. I really like the BORIDE stones. That's an American company. Their CS-HD series of stones. They sharpen D2 like a charm. Beautiful, beautiful. Those stones work up to 63 Rockwell hardness. And so since this is right around 59, give or take a little bit, it sharpens up very, very easily, very well. Great action. What are the cons? The lanyard hole probably should be a little bit bigger. People who want to use lanyards, I think they'd appreciate that to be a little bit bigger. And that's the only hole that's not chamfered. I think they could also have just chamfered it ever so slightly on the inside to help guide any paracord through that hole if they want to. And it's through a tube, so you don't have to worry about feeding it through two spots. When you feed it in, it'll come all the way out. So very well done, except for the size is a tiny bit small. And the only other con that I have for this knife, two cons, is the flipper tab's a little bit bigger than it needs to be. I think they'd get away with a smaller flipper tab just fine. And I'd like it with a smaller flipper tab. If I keep this knife for myself, I might even just grind off the flipper tab completely and either deploy it through the wave feature, or with the thumb like that. So very nice. So it's easy enough. Do what you want to do with that flipper tab. The other con is, the grinding of the final cutting edge. It's one of those jobs that's almost always done by hand, and they could have done better. The tip of the blade here, it's done a little bit better. It's just over 20 degrees on both sides, but this edge here is just way too steep, almost 30 degrees. Now I'm getting onto repetition and stuff, and it's time to wrap this thing up. What do you think of this knife? Is it a good knife to start my fourth year? I didn't realize it until I came, I had written up all my notes and everything. And once I started recording, then I realized this is the first video of my fourth year of Canadian Cutting Edge. Thank you for everybody who's been coming along for the ride. You guys are awesome. Like I mentioned earlier, if you want to become a Patreon supporter, there's a link down below. I just want to thank you for your patience watching this, liking, sharing, commenting, subscribing. Knife guys are the best, aren't they? And gals. Remember, always cut towards your chum, not your thumb.